Hello, my name is Atul Pandey and I'm the founder of Eternity Solutions. Thank you for taking the time and joining this podcast, where we discuss different nuances connected to building a purpose-native organization. This podcast is targeted towards founders and CXOs of small to mid-size tech services organizations. However, this would also be equally applicable for a business leader or a CXO in a large tech services company as well. In one of our prior podcasts, we focused on the issue of returns which good founders and good CXOs do not get on the amount of investment and passion and energy which they're pouring in. In this podcast, we are going to talk about the other set of founders who become a bottleneck to unlock growth and unlock the potential of their own teams through their own dispositions. And we must clarify, when we talk about unlocking potential, we must assert that we don't mean training, coaching and enablement in traditional sense. They are ineffective when it comes to really bringing about a meaningful and impactful change in the level of excellence and performance which people need to demonstrate in tech services business. So let me lay out some observations for you to introspect and see where you stand on this spectrum, and if you are one of those founders who are not doing it right. And I'm not questioning your intent, I'm not questioning that you are a bad founder or you are a bad CXO, none of that. Our purpose is never to make a founder or a CXO question, their intentions. We believe that every CXO and every founder is well-intentioned. They care for their teams. They really want to bring out the best in their teams. And despite that good intention, you may be the enemy number one in the process. And therefore, our purpose is for you to become a little aware so that you can start to design a different journey, a different way to let your teams rise and shine. When I look at different CXOs in this category, again, there are two ends of the spectrum. At one end, I see a bit of a tendency to brush low performing indicators and low impact indicators of their team under the carpet. Everything is good, they have good people, their people are very hardworking, they are very committed, they love their teams and they believe that they are the best founders because they really care for their teams and they want to build the best team. Now that intention is well placed, that desire is well placed, but it is a desire. It's a bit of a self-feeding projection of an image which they carry in their hearts. And in that process, they are not even looking at the gaps which their teams have. Some may look at those gaps, but then they're not addressing it right. They're still trying to justify why it is such. And these founders, when you raise some of these issues, they acknowledge it at times, but then they say, what can we do? Our teams hardly have any time. They are constantly working day and night. Where is the time for them to focus on these aspects? And they also acknowledge at times that the problem starts with them. So it's not that they are not oblivious of those issues at hand. But there is a tendency to let things slide. And they're constantly trying to sell more so that if a newer opportunity comes, if people are engaged on another project, and as long as the money is coming, they can still justify those ways of working. In this spectrum, these founders at times are also missing the feedback from the clients when they are raising issues with performance of the teams, their lack of understanding, their lack of communication, and their repeated habits of bringing unthoughtful and low productive work. The answer which some of these founders provide is by putting in more people. So they treat it as a resource problem. They treat it as a capacity problem. They do not fully acknowledge or address the capability problem. And frankly, it's not a capability problem as much as it is a focus problem, an awareness problem. Focus and awareness to do the right things with their teams. And the founders in this category who dismiss some of these issues also have a tendency to rope themselves in as a savior. So when there are issues, they'll say, I'll look into it. I'll go and get it fixed. And when they dive in, they sometimes get it fixed, they sometimes get it addressed. And that gives them a feeling of, oh, things are in control. What they are not recognizing is that they're breeding a hero culture, and again, wrong hero culture. We're somehow scramble, we're somehow just coming together and getting things sorted and throwing the ball off onto the other side. Seems like a good solution for them. And in that process, the weaknesses of their teams, the lower level of their readiness continues. And the founders are back to the playing game of going after and winning new deals, staying as part of every deal, continuing to become bottlenecks in the entire process and not get anything done. Another added problem to this end of the founders is founders' own level of readiness around some of these aspects. The ability to communicate, ability to articulate, ability to present is not highly impactful, especially when it comes to very senior level discussions. The traditional ways are somehow communicate that they have the right entitlement and they have the right set of drive to overcome the problem. So they keep on assuring, don't worry, on our watch we get things done. We have never let our clients fail. We will be there. Words, assurances, commitments, instead of showing the client a way and a reason to believe what they are saying. They are short on ways to communicate effectively. Many a times they are not even engaging with the client to understand the client side. They are in a rush to just tell how good they are and how well they do things. Then there is other end of the spectrum. So the first spectrum is where founders are constantly brushing and shielding their teams and becoming a savior and becoming the front people to manage the game. On the other hand, there are founders for whom whatever their teams do is not good enough. They are constantly butchering the confidence of their own teams in front of others. They are good people, and it's not that these founders they don't like or they don't care for their teams. They do care for their teams. However, they don't acknowledge what their teams are really trying to accomplish. There will always be, whatever their teams do, there will always be 20 things where their teams are not doing. And their intention is not to recognize the progress, but to constantly find a way in which what teams are not doing. The other side of it is that they are not engaged in nurturing the progress of their teams. It's done purely through expectations, purely through diktats. And they take pride in being honest, in being candid. And it's understandable. I can see that where they are coming from. They are not, again, ill-intentioned people. They are well-intentioned people. But they don't recognize that human change, unlike machines, is very nuanced. Unless you are becoming a part of the change process, it doesn't nurture and shape up well. And there are, again, a few approaches which some of these founders take. Sometimes when they spot an anomaly, they address it by an external training. So for them, things, anytime, whenever an intervention is done, it is always a training, coaching, enablement. But their own involvement in that change process, their own guidance of that change process is minimal, because they have offshore or outsourced that work. Well, building a high performance team cannot be outsourced. It must start and it must remain with you. You are the custodian of that change in that journey. And it starts with changing a few grains of your own habits, what you're trying to inculcate. You must register what's good, which is happening, and you must find ways to then multiply it forward. And if you're not doing it, no amount of expectations what you have will work. Now, because these other founders, they also care for their team. So at times when the team pushes very hard on a change which they are going through, they will just let it go. So a lot of good work can suddenly come to an end, because these other founders, they tend to remain hands off. And then there are other founders in between. So bottom line is that many a times the founders themselves, they do not know that they are the bottleneck in getting a higher degree of performance from their teams. And the reason is that they are very busy in somehow keeping the business on, then finding a little bit time to induce this change. At Eternity, we recognize this as one of the problems which must be addressed differently than what these founders are doing. But it starts with founders recognizing that this kind of a change is a must have change for them, not a discretionary change. And their own thinking must lead this process. Because building a high performance engine and a high performance teams, it's not just about bringing strong capabilities. It's also not about training and enablement. It is needed. Again, I don't discount the need for traditional training and enablement, but it ain't sufficient for making the capabilities, converting the capabilities of people into high performers. High performance is an act of thought first. It's an act of deliberation first. It's an act of introspection. It's an act of investigation. And if you're not doing those aspects, you will not be able to address these problems. Now, if you're interested in learning more, start a conversation with us, because that's what we do. Our focus is to help these CXOs create a high performing, highly productive organization where they can unlock higher degree of performance and productivity for each of their team members. And it cannot be done using traditional means and traditional approaches. In the next version of this podcast, we'll touch upon some of the nuances which founders must embrace when they are looking to create a high-performing workforce. What are some of those foundational traits? What are some of those foundational habits? We'll touch upon some of that. So, thank you for taking the time, and thank you for joining today's podcast. Till we meet again, take very good care of yourself. Talk to you soon.